I never thought I'd be typing this out. My hands are shaking as I write this, partly from anger, partly from the medication I'm on. I guess I need to get this off my chest, and maybe someone out there can learn from my mistakes. 3 years ago, I met Alicia at a friend's housewarming party. She was everything I wasn't: outgoing, adventurous, the life of any gathering. I was instantly drawn to her. When she laughed, the whole room seemed brighter. When our eyes met across the crowded living room, I felt something I hadn't experienced before. By the end of the night, we'd exchanged numbers. Our relationship moved quickly, maybe too quickly, looking back. Within 3 months, we were practically living together. She kept her apartment, but stayed at mine most nights. I was head over heels, completely blindsided by love, or what I thought was love. My friends tried to warn me. They said she seemed too good to be true, or that she was love-bombing me. I dismissed their concerns as jealousy. The first red flag appeared about 6 months in. I found messages on her phone while looking for a picture we'd taken together. Nothing explicit, just flirtatious texts with a coworker. When I confronted her, she turned it around on me for invading her privacy. I ended up apologizing. That became a pattern. My suspicions, her indignation, my apologies. She was always on her phone, always had work events that ran late, always had explanations that almost made sense. And I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly that I ignored the evidence piling up in front of me. I ignored the strange calls at odd hours. I ignored the weekends she'd suddenly have to visit family, but return with no stories or photos. I ignored the unexplained hotel receipts that occasionally showed up on our shared credit card statement. Last year, I got a promotion that required more travel. Alicia seemed almost too supportive, encouraging me to take every business trip that came up. I thought she was being understanding about my career. In reality, she was creating windows of opportunity. During one of my trips, I developed a burning sensation when urinating. I figured it was just a UTI from the hotel hot tub or something. But when I got back home and it hadn't improved, I finally went to the doctor. The diagnosis hit me like a truck: chlamydia. I hadn't been with anyone but Alicia for 3 years. There was only one explanation. When I confronted her, the tears came immediately. She confessed to a one-time mistake with a former boyfriend who had come to town. Said she'd been drinking, that it meant nothing. And despite everything, I believed her. I forgave her. We both got treated, and I thought we could move past it. If only I had known then that this was just the beginning of my nightmare. After the chlamydia incident, things between Alicia and me were strained but slowly improving. She became more attentive, more present. She'd leave little notes around the apartment for me to find. She started cooking my favorite meals. She suggested couples therapy, which I thought showed real commitment to fixing what was broken. For a while, I believed we were healing. I wanted to believe it so badly that I ignored the nagging voice in the back of my mind. But 3 months into our fresh start, the symptoms returned. Different this time. Painful sores that the doctor confirmed were herpes. Incurable. Something I'd carry for the rest of my life. When I confronted Alicia again, her reaction was different. No immediate tears. Instead, she looked annoyed, as if my diagnosis was inconveniencing her. She denied being with anyone else since our last conversation. Suggested maybe I had contracted it years ago, and it was just now showing symptoms. Or maybe I was the one cheating. The gaslighting was so effective that I actually found myself questioning my own fidelity. That night, while she was in the shower, something compelled me to check her laptop. Her email was open. What I found shattered any remaining illusion of our relationship. Emails to and from at least 4 different men. Hotel confirmations. Explicit photos. Plans for meetups during my business trips. This wasn't just a one-time mistake or even a brief affair. This was a pattern, a parallel life she'd been living alongside ours. The most devastating part wasn't even the cheating. It was the way she talked about me in these exchanges. He's so clueless. Don't worry, he'll never suspect. He's wrapped around my finger. Reading those words, I felt something break inside me. My self-respect, my dignity, whatever remaining faith I had in people. When she came out of the bathroom, I was sitting in the dark, her laptop open in front of me. "How could you?" was all I could manage to say. What followed was the most surreal conversation of my life. Instead of more denials or excuses, Alicia simply shrugged. "I never promised you exclusivity," she said, as if we hadn't had countless discussions about monogamy, as if we hadn't built a life together based on certain understood agreements. "But I have herpes now," I said. "I'll have it forever because of you." Her response chilled me to the bone. "That's not my problem. You should have been more careful who you trusted." In that moment, I realized I had never really known her at all. The woman I loved, or thought I loved, didn't exist. She was a construction, a performance designed to secure what she wanted from me: stability, financial support, a home base from which to conduct her real life. She packed a bag that night, and left for her barely used apartment. I sat alone in my living room until sunrise, trying to process what had happened. How had I been so blind? So willing to ignore evidence? So eager to believe lies? The next day, I made an appointment with my doctor for a full STI panel. The results were worse than I could have imagined. In addition to herpes, I tested positive for HIV. Early stages, treatable with medication, but another lifelong reminder of my catastrophic lapse in judgment. The 6 months following my HIV diagnosis were the darkest of my life. I spiraled into depression, took a leave of absence from work, and isolated myself from friends and family. I was too ashamed to tell anyone the full story. How could I admit that I had been so thoroughly deceived? That I had ignored so many warning signs? That I had prioritized a toxic relationship over my own health and well-being? Alicia tried to contact me several times. First with angry messages accusing me of overreacting, then with tearful voicemails claiming she had no idea about the HIV, and finally with cold, legal-sounding texts informing me she'd tested negative for everything and suggesting I must have contracted it elsewhere. I blocked her number, but the damage to my self-esteem was already done. I found myself replaying our relationship in my mind, searching for moments when I could have, should have, walked away. The signs had been there from the beginning. Her reluctance to introduce me to close friends, the mysterious weekend trips, the passwords on all her devices, the inconsistencies in her stories. I had willfully ignored them all because I was terrified of being alone. One night, after particularly heavy drinking, I sent messages to the men I'd discovered in her emails. I'm not proud of this, but I needed to know if they understood the risks they were taking and imposing on others. 2 never responded. 1 sent back a single word, sorry. The 4th, surprisingly, called me. His name was Marcus. He had been seeing Alicia for almost our entire relationship. Like me, he thought they were exclusive. Like me, he had recently discovered her betrayal. Unlike me, he had been lucky enough to escape without contracting anything. He had known about me. Alicia had told him I was just a roommate she occasionally slept with, but not about the others. That conversation with Marcus was a turning point. There was something cathartic about sharing my experience with someone who truly understood, who had been manipulated by the same person in similar ways. We weren't rivals. We were fellow survivors of emotional abuse. With Marcus's encouragement, I finally sought therapy. I joined support groups, one for HIV-positive individuals, another for survivors of psychological manipulation. I started medication for HIV and slowly began rebuilding my life. I reconnected with friends I had pushed away, confiding in them what had happened. Their support was overwhelming and humbling. Today, almost a year since everything fell apart, I'm in a much better place. My viral load is undetectable thanks to medication. I've returned to work and even received another promotion. I've learned to be honest with potential partners about my status. Some have walked away, and that's their right. Others have been understanding, educated about modern HIV treatment and prevention. I'm not ready for a serious relationship yet, and maybe I won't be for a long time. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. But I'm working on forgiving myself, for ignoring red flags, for prioritizing companionship over self-respect, for allowing someone to treat me as less than I deserve. If you're reading this and recognizing similar patterns in your own relationship, please don't make my mistakes. Trust your instincts. Respect yourself enough to demand honesty and faithfulness. Get tested regularly. Have difficult conversations early. And remember that loneliness, while painful, is far less destructive than building a life with someone who doesn't value your health or happiness. I destroyed my life by ignoring the truth that was right in front of me. But I'm also rebuilding it, day by day, with greater awareness and self-compassion than I had before. Sometimes rock bottom is where you discover your true foundation. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone else avoid the path I walked. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.